Afternoon, everyone. We just gave a few minutes for some folks to trickle in and get settled, so we can go ahead and begin now. Alrighty, so again, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Clean Fleet Connect Public Workgroup meeting. My name is Karina, and I'm an air pollution specialist in the Market Advancement and Fleet Engagement section at the California Air Resources Board. I will be guiding our discussion today. The purpose of the work group is to gather feedback on the concept of Clean Fleet Connect, a planned tool meant to highlight medium and heavy-duty zero-emission fleets. Next slide. In today's work group, we'll start with an introduction and background on the tool. Then I'll walk through the timelines and upcoming milestones of the tool. After that, we'll dive into the tool concept, covering fleet sign-up and the proposed web app interface. And next, we'll review the characteristics that define participation in Clean Fleet Connect. Time for public feedback and comments will be woven into our agenda, and there will be a larger portion of time dedicated to public comment at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. Fleet Connect is a web tool that's still in development. Its purpose is to highlight fleets that adopt zero-emission vehicles and connect businesses and organizations who have sustainability goals with fleets that can help them reach those goals. It will be open to on-road, medium, and heavy-duty commercial fleets, and participation will be completely voluntary. Next slide, please. Clean Fleet Connect tool was developed in response to the Governor's Executive Order N2725. The order directs CARB, among other mandates, to maintain a public list of fleets that are following the zero-emission airport shuttle regulation or who have taken proactive steps in alignment with the Advanced Clean Fleets regulation. A few months later, state agencies proposed a ZEV-first policy for state procurement, further emphasizing the importance of recognizing fleets taking early action towards zero emission. As a result, Clean Fleet Connect will be designed to meet these goals and provide visibility for fleets setting the pace for a clean transportation future. Ultimately, we want to highlight fleets that have made investments in ZEVs by providing them with public recognition and, in turn, potential business opportunities or other partnerships. Next slide, please. Next, we'll review the basics of what Clean Fleet Connect would and wouldn't do. As mentioned earlier, the tool will highlight fleets that are voluntarily taking action towards zero emissions in the heavy-duty sector, medium and heavy-duty sector. It will increase visibility of these fleets to hiring and procurement entities, and it will support public and private sector organizations in meeting their climate and sustainability goals. The tool will not create any new regulatory requirements, affect compliance, or otherwise be used for regulatory purposes. It does not guarantee additional business or financial benefits, and it does not endorse or recommend any specific business. In general terms, the tool is meant to provide information and visibility, not regulate or certify fleets. Next slide, please. Since October, and actually a bit before then, we have been gathering feedback on the concept of the tool from fleets, hiring entities, and key stakeholders, and we look forward to hearing even more feedback today from you all. In early 2026, we plan to publish the tool and begin to outreach to fleets to start getting them to sign up. And by mid-2026, we'll expand outreach to hiring entities to raise awareness of the tool and the fleets that have chosen to participate in the tool. This timeline ensures that stakeholder input is incorporated before launch and maximizes visibility among both fleets and hiring organizations. Next slide, please. Now we'll review the proposed fleet sign-up component of Clean Fleet Connect. Again, many of the elements that I'm going to be going over are proposed, so we do invite any feedback that you may have on the information we share regarding this tool concept. Fleets will begin by completing an interest form on the Clean Fleet Connect webpage. Once a fleet expresses interest, they'll receive an email with information on what is needed to be highlighted and instructions on how to officially sign up. Fleets submit their information through Truckers, the Truck Regulation Upload Compliance and Reporting System, which ensures data will be collected consistently and securely. The goal for this process and for using trackers is to make sign up straightforward while capturing information needed to highlight fleets. Slide, please. The tool will be hosted on a dedicated web page where users can access a public, easy to navigate list of participating fleets. The page would include regular data updates along with search and filter options to help users find fleets based on their needs. For each participating fleet, the tool would display key information, such as the contact person and email, the company or agency name, the types of vehicles in the fleet, the vehicle classes, and when I mention vehicles in fleet and vehicle classes, I am referring to ZEV vehicles, and the percentage of ZEVs within those vehicle classes. In our recent discussions with other key stakeholders, we received feedback on adding the company's region of service and hauling type to the list provided by each vehicle class. We are investigating the feasibility of adding those features to the tool as well. And again, we really welcome any feedback you may have on what proposed features you think might not work and what features you think will work best to highlight these fleets and connect them with potential business partners or partnerships in general. Next slide, please. I will now hand it over to Andrea to facilitate our public feedback portion, our first public feedback portion.
Thank you, Karina. So now let's open it up for questions on this web tool concept. So if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, please use the webinar feature to raise your hand. For those using Zoom online, you can use the raise hand option under the Zoom navigation bar, and that's often found under the participants tab. For those using Zoom on a mobile application, you can click on raise hands option in the more tab. And if you're participating by telephone, you can press #2 to raise your hand. So when it's your turn to speak, I will call on you and unmute your line. Note you may still need to ensure that you're unmuted on your own device, and I'll also ask that you state your name and affiliation. There's a couple of specific topics that we would love folks' feedback on listed on this discussion guide here. So that includes what information would be helpful to be highlighted on the list, and what features would help contractors find the right fleets more easily. And we're certainly also interested in if folks have thoughts or suggestions on how we should be conducting outreach on this tool, if there are suggestions of the types of strategies we may be able to use there. So with that, again, encourage anybody who's interested in making a comment or providing some discussion to raise their hand, and we'll go ahead and call on you. All right, I see a raised hand. So Rich Blaustein, I will go ahead and unmute your line.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Rich Blaustein. I'm a journalist for Climate Brief, which is published by the Continuing Education of the Bar of California. I have just two background questions. Is there any sort of rough estimate as to how many fleets might at this time be considered clean fleets? And then my second question, is there any program in CARB's history that is voluntary that you might be shed light as a precedent on results and how this works? Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your question. We do have numbers on how many fleets are actually meeting our highlighted fleet characteristics. So based on Truckers data, there are already 293 fleets meeting highlighted fleet characteristics, and within those fleets, there are 2,520 zero-emission vehicles. With most of them, actually, I can go over that number a bit later, but just in total, 2,520 ZEVs within those ZEV fleets that could be highlighted on the tool. For your second question, I'll ping Andrea to to help me answer that one.
So we certainly have worked on some voluntary types of programs in the past. We're currently working on another voluntary program called the California Clean Construction Program as well, that's more focused on off-road construction equipment. And so that's something that some of our counterparts here have worked on. But there are, aside from CARB programs, there are other government entities, including US EPA, has run a program called Smart Ways for a number of years that really looks at doing similar sorts of measures and a number of different opportunities that fleets can take that help reduce emissions through a voluntary sort of program to encourage those measures.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. And now I see that Lynette Sapinza also has a raised hand. So I will go ahead and unmute your mic. A reminder to please state your name and affiliation.
Thank you, Andrea. Lynette Sapienza, Dome Innovation Partnership. Work with a number of small fleets, and in California, the majority of your fleets are small and medium-sized fleets. So my questions are around, a lot of times those businesses, don't have a lot of free time for extra things. So I think it's important for us to understand what is truly in it for them that would make them want to do this. And two, number or the frequency of updates per year required or that you're expecting out of them. Because I think some of that type of information between those two questions might help encourage a lot of these small businesses to participate.
Thank you for that comment, Lynette. Yes, so fleets of any size will be able to participate in, and we are keeping in mind, and we've been receiving feedback as well on folks that bring up the point that you mentioned, ensuring that updates aren't needed regularly in terms of smaller fleets especially might not have the time to input their information and then and benefit from being highlighted. So in the next couple of slides, I'll go over what we're asking for. And if you have any follow-up questions after we go over those details, I'm happy to open up the conversation back again in our next feedback period. But I think the next couple of slides will really shed some information on kind of what we are asking of fleets. And if you think if you think that's not appropriate or appropriate for smaller fleets, we are very happy to hear any feedback that you may have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just add in terms of overall motivation, I think for fleets to be added to the tool, the goal here is to help connect those fleets that have zero emission vehicles with hiring entities, whether they're businesses that have sustainability goals and are really interested in finding some zero emission fleets. So really the goal here is to make it easier for some of those fleets to find jobs. And that's kind of the overarching premise of this. All right. I see that we have another raised hand, Ashley Fernando. So Ashley, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your line.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're a little quiet, so if you could make sure you're speaking into the mic, that would be helpful.
Okay. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me.
Perfect.
But my name is Ashley Fernando. I'm with Los Angeles World Airports. And I apologize if you already went over this, but just wanted to clarify. This would not apply to state and local government agencies, correct?
Well, state and local government agencies will be welcome to sign up to be highlighted on the tool.
Oh, okay. Got it. Even though it's not voluntary.
Well, so this is a separate from the advanced clean fleet circulation, which maybe is that what you're referring to?
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is totally voluntary, separate from that. If they do meet our highlighted fleet characteristics in terms of state and local government, and they would, based on advanced clean fleets, then they can be highlighted, and it's
Okay.
voluntary as well.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm not seeing any additional raised hands at this point, so I think we can move on to the next portion of the presentation, Karina, and we will have additional time for feedback later in today's work group. So if folks have more questions come up, we certainly encourage you to raise them.
Andrea. All right, so now let's walk through what it takes for our fleet to be highlighted on Clean Fleet Connect. In order to be highlighted, fleets should meet the following threshold, which is operate at least one ZEV in California. At least 5% of the California fleet is zero emission. The number of ZEVs in the California fleet should meet or exceed certain ZEV milestones. And these milestones define the target number of ZEVs for a fleet based on fleet size and vehicle types. Fleet owners maintain up-to-date reporting and trackers as well. And these thresholds will identify fleets that are actively adopting zero-emission vehicles. Next slide, please. I'd like to take a moment to explain the ZEV milestones, achievement characteristics for ZEV fleets participating in Clean Fleet Connect. ZEV milestones refers to a ZEV phase and schedule that fleets follow to eventually reach 100% zero emission. In this phase and schedule, as you can see on the screen, vehicle types are divided into 3 different milestone groups. Each milestone group has a different timeline for ZEV adoption. On the screen, you'll see a chart pairing ZEV adoption milestones with these groups. For Group 1, it's box trucks, vans, 2-axle buses, yard trucks, and postage delivery trucks. For Group 2, it's work trucks, day cab tractors, 3-axle buses, and pickups. And for Group 3, it's sleeper cab tractors and certain specialty vehicles. So you can see ZEVs will phase in over time starting in 2025. The Group 1 vehicles will achieve the 10% ZEV in that group. If you don't own any of these vehicles, then this would not apply to your fleet. Then in Group 2 and Group 3, vehicles come in at 10% for 2027 and 2030. As you can see, the ZEV phase-in schedule goes all the way out to 2042. However, that's less of an important note. And we have an example with some numbers next. I just want to add another piece of information. As I was mentioning, the numbers of ZEV fleets that are already meeting these highlighted characteristics, many of the ZEV vehicles among those ZEV fleets are in Group 2. So I just wanted to follow up on that note. Next slide, please. All right. So this slide shows an example of a fleet that can be highlighted on Clean Fleet Connect in 2026. The fleet has 100 vehicles, 60 in Group 1, 20 in Group 2, and 20 in Group 3. 6 of the fleet's vehicles are ZEVs, and all of the ZEVs are in milestone Group 1. The milestone schedule example for this fleet on the right shows the number of ZEVs required each year. Since there isn't a new requirement in 2026, 2025 milestone targets would apply to the fleet. And that means the fleet keeps following the 2025 milestone until the next update in 2027. For this example, the fleet can be highlighted in the tool because they have at least one ZEV. Their total ZEV count is more than 5% of the fleet at 6%. And since 10% of milestone Group 1 vehicles are ZEVs, they meet the ZEV milestones in 2026. And finally, the fleet would also need to be keeping their information up to date in truckers. In 2027, the milestones would increase. So to Group 2 vehicles, 10% of that Group 2 group will also need to be ZEVs. On the bottom row, we can see the number of ZEVs a fleet would need each year. The fleet would need each year in order to meet the milestone. So to continue to be highlighted in 2027, our example fleet here will have to add 2 Group 2 vehicles in addition to the 6 Group 1 vehicles they already had. Next slide, please. All right, so let's open it up for our next public comment period. I will hand it over to Andrea.
Right. So again, we would love to open it up to folks for anyone who may have any comments or questions about this proposed concept for the web tool. We'd certainly love feedback on if folks think that this could be useful to fleets, if you think that these characteristics that we're looking at as a threshold for highlighting fleets make sense, if you have recommendations for other thresholds we may want to look at. So again, if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, you can use the raise hand feature in Zoom, or if you're participating by phone, press #2. All right, Lynette, I am unmuting your line. Again, reminder to please state your name and affiliation.
Sure. Thank you, Lynette Sapienza, Dome Partnership. So just 2 quick comments on that. I'm curious why you guys have gone with the groupings you have versus using like vehicle classes, which is a lot of what CARB uses in their other programs, which might be easier for the participants to understand versus trying to guess like, certain vehicles can, like where exactly they might fall. I'm just wondering why you guys went with that versus vehicle classes into the groups. And 2, it's up to the participant to keep their data up in Truckers, but is there like will you guys be reviewing that at certain periods during the year so they would know like, hey, I need to make sure my information is updated by X date in order to stay current? Or is it like a once a year type of thing?
Thank you so much for those questions, Lynette. In terms for the vehicle classes versus vehicle groups question, we are using the vehicle groups part because in developing this, Truckers is already identifying ZEV fleets that meet the highlighted characteristics that we're proposing. So this Truckers is like programmed to use the vehicle groups, and so for kind of the sake of streamlining this process to develop a concept to share with you all, we did keep it along with the
Okay.
vehicle groups, but your feedback I appreciate your feedback in regard to vehicle classes because there are still continuing conversations around, around these characteristics and if they need to change.
No, that's helpful to know that it's matching what's in Truckers. Maybe that's easier for them. But is there a number? So for the times they have to update it again, will it be like just once per year and then they get certified and highlighted or?
Yes, so they should be maintaining the up-to-date information in Truckers once per year to ensure that they continue to be highlighted. We are going to have regular data updates. So again, if folks like sign up throughout the year, they can be highlighted. And when we get the data from Truckers will automatically flag fleets that have their information up to date. So they will be automatically included in that data update that we hope to be regular.
Okay, no, that's helpful to know to be able to explain that to fleets that you do this once a year. And essentially that's not like every month or something. So that's easier, I think, to digest.
All right, thanks, Lynette. Next, we have Ryland Lee. Ryland, I will unmute your line.
Thanks so much, Andrea and Karina, for this presentation. My name is Ryland Lee. I'm speaking on behalf of the Environmental Defense Fund, EDF, and our more than 3 million members, including 500,000 members in the state of California. First, I just want to thank you for having this workshop following many of the recent federal actions, many of which you all discussed at the heavy duty workshop last week. We really think California's leadership is more important than ever to support the heavy duty ZEV market, as well as fleets that use ZEV vehicles. And given the limitations on regulatory authority right now and limited public funding, we think having a strategy that includes these voluntary programs can be a really important component of supporting zero emission vehicles in the state. I have 3 questions. So my first question is, y'all have talked about having a list on the CARB website that could provide additional publicity for eligible fleets and connect them with hiring entities. I'm curious if you'll have thought kind of more broadly beyond the website itself, like other types of communication tools that could be valuable to fleets or hiring entities, such as a clean fleets label that fleets could use in their own promotional materials, CARB's proactive communication to hiring entities, CARB events showcasing fleets. I'm curious how you all are thinking about that. And for those who represent fleets or hiring entities like who are here today, I'm also curious for your views on that as well. My second question is, it sounds like one of the purposes of this program is to really recognize fleets that are already and will continue to meet certain zero emission vehicle goals, and like to better understand your thinking. Like, is the point of this to kind of reward fleets that are already doing it and may already be doing it anyways, or is there kind of a larger goal of using this program as a way to motivate more fleets to adopt more zero emission vehicles? And if so, do you all think like the publicity benefits here, are sufficient to motivate that, or how much additional voluntary uptake of ZEVs could be motivated? Again, would be very curious for CARB's thoughts on that, as well as from other stakeholders here at the workshop. My final question relates to the relationship between this program and other programs. I think Karina had mentioned at an earlier slide the governor's executive order about procurement and focusing that on ZEVs. I'm curious if there's been thought given to potentially coordinating this list of fleets with certain government procurement activities, or having preferred access to certain incentives, or even coordinating it with potential early action programs through related to the Drive Forward standards. Thanks.
Thank you for those questions. So I'll go through them one by one. So your first question was regarding will Clean Fleet Connect go beyond publicly listing fleets that meet our highlighted fleet characteristics in terms of like providing a label or just any other things to support these fleets that will be highlighted. We've been receiving feedback, really good feedback on actually ideas of how we can go beyond this list to help more with the networking component. Some ideas that have floated around are maybe having in-person events for those on the list, maybe creating a private element of the list that you have access to when you're on the list, in terms of maybe seeing hiring entities who are comfortable with sharing that they would like to hire from this list. So that in terms of continue to support fleets on this list and providing them with visibility, we are in continuing discussions also with our public information office on how we can really bolster this like networking opportunity that the public list may provide. And for your second question, you mentioned in terms of kind of the foundation, is this built to recognize fleets that are already meeting these highlighted fleet characteristics, or is it more so built to motivate fleets to join the list? I think we're developing the list to kind of identify both of these groups that you mentioned. Uh, the list was definitely heavily and the development of the concept heavily considered the executive order and 27 25, which asks CARB to highlight ZEV fleets that were proactive with advanced clean fleets and adopting zero emission vehicles. So as you can see you probably see the theme of um, how that is tied to that. But we did develop it in terms of inviting all fleets of all sizes to participate, commercial fleets, public, private fleets, and we scaled it with like percentages of how many ZEVs you need based on that fleet size um, to include fleets that may be interested in going zero emission and be highlighted on this list. We've had conversations regarding this topic too, on how we can make the web page also a page where interested fleets can look at resources on how to adopt ZEVs as well if they're interested. So there's definitely conversations um, that. You mentioned if you think the publicity benefits are sufficient, and I think that kind of also goes into your next question. Um, oh, actually, yeah, I actually can answer that separate from your next question, but we're in conversations on what we could do more, and if anyone has any feedback on what you think may bolster currently the publicity benefits of being on this tool. Um, there is conversations on um, potential discussions around incentives considerations or special considerations. But that's currently not part of the tool. It's non-monetary and voluntary, but we're open to changing the tool and receiving feedback on specific um, incentives that you think uh, may bolster participation into the tool and bolster the publicity benefit. And then the next question was, what is the relationship between this tool and other programs? So this tool is definitely part of the Drive Forward ecosystem that you're familiar with. It is a voluntary part of this like greater effort. Uh, and so there are conversations on how we can partner with other recognition and voluntary type efforts of the Drive Forward ecosystem. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the California Clean Construction program is being developed to highlight zero emission construction projects. So, we're in conversations with our off road team working on that to see how we can partner and really provide some recognition on a broader front to not only on-road fleets as Clean Fleet Connect would do, but off-road fleets. So those conversations are continuing. And again, we welcome any feedback on any partnerships that you think might be helpful, but just wanted to answer that we are having those discussions.
Yeah, and to add on there, I think we have definitely thought about, as you pointed out, things like state procurements and if there could be some benefits or this give additional points to folks in procurement processes for states. We certainly could see potentially other local government entities that may have sustainability goals too, considering this as something in some of their procurement processes. And so the point you were making earlier of if this alone would be enough to really motivate fleets for zero emission, I think we recognize that this is one kind of tool in the toolbox, but we would still be looking at a number of different ways that we can help motivate fleets and help make it easier for fleets to get into zero emission vehicles. So certainly while we're thinking of adding the Clean Fleet Connect tool, incentives would continue to play a really important role in that strategy. We'll be continuing to really work on our technical assistance types of programs like Cal Fleet Advisors to make sure fleets have access to the resources and information that they need to go zero emissions. This would just be one of the tools in our toolbox that we're using to try to help get fleets into cleaner trucks. All right. Our next raised hand is from Raul. So Raul, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to unmute your line.
Hello, this is Raul. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Raul Fletes from LA Department of Water and Power. I'm the fleet procurement manager. So the benefits of this tool, I guess, for future iterations for a fleet like ours, it would be beneficial to be able to have such a marketplace that we can reach out to multiple people when we do have these projects that we're putting out for contracts for procurement of these ZEV vehicles. It's always the case that it's only who we know. And I'm sure there's a lot more manufacturers and companies who are out there in the industry that we haven't seen yet. So the fact that we don't make that 5% threshold yet, we are captured under the ACF rule. We're trying to make that compliance, but it would still be beneficial to be able to have access to all those names and people out there if we can have that information directly for them so we can solicit them for future projects and scope and work. That would be one. That would be really important to us. Fleets are trying to make that goal and trying to reach there. So, if in the future opportunity, if there is for something with that, we really would champion that. We'd love to participate as far as that. And then something else that in the reverse for people who do have these products that they're bringing to market and things that they have, it would be great to have a location like yours where they would list not just like an HFIB where they have these manufacturers make these size trucks. It'd be great to know the complement of things they do. Do they do the chassis, do the upfitting? What things and services do they provide? Things of that is important to us, including the specifications, which HFIB doesn't really give. And when we're building out our projects, it would really help to advance what we're trying to do versus right now, it's only the people that we know. So those are the kind of comments that the things that we would love to see from DWP, and we'd like to continue this. So thank you.
Thank you for your question. We appreciate the feedback on how LA DWP would use a tool like this, and we note that it's important to know what kind of services fleets would provide, and we appreciate you mentioning that. We'll take that feedback back.
Right, thank you. And our next raised hand is Lynette. So Lynette, I'll go ahead and unmute your line.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood something that you guys said. Did you say that they were thinking about tying this into incentives, or did I not hear that right? I just wanted to clarify that.
So we did mention the incentives portion, although that's not part of the tool now. It's completely voluntary and non-monetary. These are just conversations we're having on potential things we can offer to fleets that are highlighted to kind of bolster the fact that they're getting publicity, but maybe also some other benefits. But for now, that's not part of the tool. But if you think it would be a good to include that later down the line, we definitely welcome your opinion on that.
Yeah, actually, at this point in time, I would say no. I think it might be a detractor for a lot of these businesses, in the sense of you have, like I said, with a lot of small businesses, you have people with all different views of how much they want the government in what they're doing and how they might feel about that based on just their beliefs. Although they might be totally supportive of getting ZEV vehicles in their fleet for the economics and whatnot. Um, but I think having it tied to, say, incentives could really be a detractor from a lot of them. From considering they are wanting to do the right thing, getting ZEVs in, but not all of them are going to be super comfortable sharing their information just for their own personal beliefs. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just, we have a lot of business owners who have a lot of different opinions. So I would say to keep the momentum of getting people to convert, I don't know that I would do that, especially early on.
Thank you so much for that feedback. It's definitely, I think the first time we've heard some feedback on maybe not think going down that incentives path, although it's still in, of course, conversations, and right now it's only non-monetary and voluntary. So I really appreciate that insight. Yes, we are aware that maybe some folks would not want to share their information or
Yeah,
hide, yeah, in this political climate. Appreciate
right.
that.
All right. Thank you, Lynette. So we currently don't have any other raised hands. So would certainly continue to invite if folks have any other suggestions or thoughts on the sorts of characteristics and thresholds we're considering for fleets, if those make sense. If you think that this tool would be useful either as a fleet or a hiring entity, any other ideas on kind of the publicity front, we're happy to hear those. All right, and I see Evan Edgar has raised his hand. Evan, I'll go ahead and allow you to unmute your line.
Good afternoon. My name is Evan Edgar. I'm from Edgar Associates. I represent public and private fleets. And one of the type of fleets that should be recognized is bringing in the near zero definition as well as zero definitions. The refuse industry has tested some different ZEVs out there, both public and private. And we also have been early adopters of near zero coupled with carbon negative RNG. What should be profiled is what is working today versus a pipe dream of tomorrow. What's working today is in the refuse sector, we have carbon negative fleets with a CI of minus 100 carbon intensity. We have near zero engines that came a long way and getting awful clean. That's a great profile of what is really working today. And so I think this tool will be great to baseline the good of what fleets are near zero with carbon negative fleets, because as you move towards ZEV, it's going to recarbonize the fleets. It's going to be carbon positive. The average ZEV is plus 20 on a carbon intensity scale, and the RNG is minus 100. And if we're really in this for greenhouse gas reductions and really in it for short-lived climate pollutants, that profile and courage should be everywhere and across the CARB page about what is working today in the near zero world, but we haven't been able to profile it anywhere because I don't think CARB wants to hear it. So that's why I'm commenting today is that we should profile carbon negative fleets at minus 100 with the near zero NOx and bring the near zero definition into today's discussion.
You, Evan Edgar, for your comment. The tool was developed heavily to align with the governor's executive order to highlight fleets that have proactively adopted zero emission fleets. So currently, the concept is as you brought up, is focused on those zero emission vehicles. However, I do appreciate your comment regarding inclusivity of low emission types of vehicles, and but currently the tool is aligned closely with what is in the governor's order to highlight those zero emission vehicles that have been proactive.
Right. Thank you for your comments, Evan. Not seeing any other raised hands at the moment, but again, encourage folks if you have any other questions, comments, thoughts that have occurred to you to go ahead and raise your hand and we'll call on you. All right, Courtney, I am unmuting your line. So go ahead, state your name and affiliation, and you may begin.
Hi there, this is Courtney with the Zero Emission Vehicle Market Development Office at GoBiz. And I will confess I've been multitasking and you may have shared this information and I missed it, but just in case, I wanted to ask when there's going to be the active process for fleets to become part of this. And I mean, I just signed up for your email list, but what's the outreach plan to get the word out to fleets so they can get involved?
Brittany, thank you for your comment and question. So in terms of tool development, publishing, and getting fleets to sign up, we're hoping that that can take place early 2026. And you will definitely receive those updates through the subscribed list, and there should be updates as well on our Clean Fleet Connect webpage. And once fleets are able to sign up after the tool is published early 2026, we hope to heavily market to hiring entities so that we can show hiring entities a list of fleets that are already being consenting to being published publicly on the tool. So that's kind of our timeline. For early 2026, mid 2026 may go into late.
Great. Thank you, Courtney. Then we'll give it a minute to see if anyone else has any questions. If not, we may be wrapping up here a bit early. All right. So seeing no additional raised hands, so Karina, I think we can go ahead and move into our wrap-up slides.
You, Andrea. Right, so thank you very much for your feedback in today's Clean Fleet Connect Tool work group. If you have any follow-up or questions or comments, please reach out to us and we can set up some time to speak with you directly, or you can send comments to zevtruckstop@arb.ca.gov. If you would like to stay updated on the Clean Fleet Connect tool, please visit our website by scanning the QR code on your screen. I do want to put in my contact information in the chat to continue conversations that we've had today. So let me go ahead and do that now. Alrighty. So you're more than welcome to reach out to me and we can continue to have these conversations offline in another meeting. I know maybe some folks that are saving their comments for after, but yeah, definitely welcome them in our through our ZEV truck stop arb.ca.gov email, or you can reach out to me and we can chat. So thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to hear about the Clean Fleet Connect tool. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thank you.